lovely morning and a warm welcome to the program. Kunle Abimel is my name. In the heart of Nigeria's agricultural landscape, women are the unsung heroes, tilling the soil, planting seeds of hope and harvesting resilience. They contribute approximately 70% of the agricultural labor force, yet their contributions often go unrecognized and unsupported. Despite their pivotal role, women own less than 2% of the land they cultivate, limiting their access to credit and resources necessary for expansion. In 2025, the federal agriculture budget was slashed by over 36%, dropping from 996.9 billion naira to 683 billion naira, representing just 1.28% of the total national budget, a stark contrast to the 10% commitment under the Maputo Declaration. Of these, only 5.8 billion naira is allocated to youth and women's empowerment, a mega sum considering their substantial contributions to food production. Also, in 2025, Ondo State approved a total budget of 698.66 billion naira, marking a significant increase from the initial proposal of 655.23 billion naira. The budget allocates 56.1 billion naira to agricultural development, representing approximately 8.09% of the total budget. This figure, stakeholders argue, is still insufficient to give meaningful change, especially for women farmers who are the backbone of food production in the state. On the program this morning, we will delve into the realities behind these figures. Are the policies inclusive? The funds reaching the women who are the backbone of agriculture? What must be changed to secure their place in Nigeria's food future? This process will also be answered by guests already in the house. We'll take a break now. Then we'll come back with the crowd on the place. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This one we're taking a look at agriculture, especially the place of women and budgetary provision, allocation for that sector of the economy. And to do the C-suite, I have Mr. Olayemi Oluwatobi, Budget Officer, Justice Development and Peace Center, Secretary Department on Shoot. Good morning, sir. I'm highly honored to be here this morning. Thank you for having me. Let's take a look at the women. What role would you say that they also play in terms of the food production and agriculture?
All right, thank you so much. As far as agriculture is concerned, we cannot overemphasize the significant role that women are playing. So, and we have it that statistically 70% of our food production we have in the state today are being produced by women. So that means that if out of 100% you are taking away 70%, you are left with 30%, which is not even up to average. So that means that focus needs to be on women in terms of food production. And most of them, they are poor farmers. Poor farmers in the sense that they lack resources, to have land production. They lack resources to cultivate all year round agricultural system, whereby there will not be scarcity of food. They lack resources because they don't have control. It's not that they don't have access to land, they can have access, but control. You understand? They lack resources based on the fact that they don't have financial capacity. They lack resources because the road network that lead to the farm, it's not good. They lack resources because there's no post-harvest losses reduction support. They lack resources because they are not being trained on improved seedlings. They lack resources because of the fact that, the research is not coming forth to support them in this challenging time whereby there is climate change and many of them are running on losses. People that are still looking for resources, and the little resources they have, they are unable to get something meaningful out of it. And that is why it is high time we come to the table to give priority, inclusion to these women, so that the inflation we are talking about is not about the fact that dollars is increasing every day, because demand is more than supply. You understand now? And when demand is more than supply, and only few people are producing this thing, you know, when there's scarcity, inflation will set in.
What surprises is the issue of the figure. 70% of them are participating in agricultural businesses, but we don't get to see them in the forefront.
Yes, you know, the 70% of smallholder farmers we have are women. Now, the reason is because they are operating at low level. Low level in the sense that the little production they are making is either they take it to a local market, whereby sometimes even the middlemen.
Maybe because of their level of education.
It's not because of their level of education, but if, you know, education goes beyond the four walls of the school. So, and that is why the role of extension services is important towards agricultural development, be it in the state or national level. So, but when they are not being educated appropriately, so you will begin to see that the way they will be operating or they will be practicing farming or agriculture will still be in a way that it's not going to improve their livelihood. We feel like agric has gone beyond the level of just practicing. It is not agribusiness. It should be an investment. As people are making income, the state also is benefiting. It restructures the economy of the state. Because over 50% of employment rate now goes to agriculture. But we know that there are a lot of bottlenecks, you know, affecting all these things. And those who are the major drivers are not being considered.
When we take a look at the budget, especially from the federal government, we have the 633 billion naira budgeted to agriculture. But when you take a look at percentage, just 1.2%.
Yes.
These are the issue of Maputo declaration. It's far high. What would you say is also responsible for this? Why the federal government is not actually pumping enough money into agriculture?
You know, because agriculture is not a scheme whereby government can easily make money overnight. Unlike when you talk about oil, you understand you can easily make your money overnight in oil. But there are times in this country whereby, you know, agriculture has been means of our livelihood. And that's why when we begin to talk about some infrastructures today that we can still make, you know, most of, that is the what's it called, the cocoa cream in Ibadan, you know, the pyramid in the north. You understand? And we know that especially in our area here, the area of cocoa has been what has been bringing a lot of income to us. But over the years, we've been telling government, agriculture is transforming. I can tell you that one of the sustainable business that we can be thinking of or speaking around is still agriculture. But now, every time we see the level of, you know, unemployment increasing on a daily basis, and now God has blessed us with billions of land that is arable. God has blessed us with good weather conditions, despite the fact that we are still having climate change. We have rainy season, we have, you know, dry season. Our land, you know, are so fertile. Like some other countries, whereby some specific crops you cannot plant it there. But government sees as if, you know, budgeting low amount of money to agriculture will bring change. It cannot, and that is why we are still where we are. And that is why a country that is so blessed is still importing some things. Like, let me give you an instance, sir. We have enough of cocoa in Africa. In Africa, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ondo State happens to be one of the most states recognized in Africa, exporting cocoa. But do you know that the chocolates that we are buying expensively is as a result of the cocoa? But they will take it outside, they will refine it, they will package it, they will come here selling it at high amounts.
So because they are not consuming cocoa, they are consuming chocolate.
We are consuming. When you go to Lagos, big cities, you will see we are consuming.
And I know there was a program by the federal government actually going to primary school to ensure that the cook is there. They eat chocolate. But
do you understand?
I don't know if they are still talking ahead with that. Let's look at data from those state budgets.
Okay.
And those state budgets actually budgeted 56.1 billion naira for agriculture, representing 8.09%. That is far higher than the budget of the federal government.
Okay. Yes, that's true. Now, but that's just at the surface level.
How do you mean surface level?
Surface level in the sense that it is even possible for the state government to budget 1 trillion to agriculture. But I give you this. If out of that 1 trillion, you are able to access only 10 billion, what's the essence of that 1 trillion? Mostly, we conducted our analysis, in the first quarter of this year. So we are able to analyze the 2025 agricultural budgets. And, we need to also take a look at the previous years, to look at the performance. And I must give credit to, Ondo State government, especially the Ministry of Budgets and, and Economic Planning. They are doing well when it comes to timely update of performance base of, budgets for each sector in the state. When you go to their platform now, from the first quarter to the fourth quarter of 2024, we have the update of all MDAs in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Performance.
Yes. Now, we have recurrent, we have capital expenditure. And for changes to occur in the agricultural development sector, it can only come through the capital expenditure. And our findings, out of over 32 billion, that was, a mark for capital expenditure in agriculture in the year 2024, where only 3-point-something billion was released, representing 9.89%. That is what? That is a total decline. And ever since we've started the analysis for over 10 years, we've never seen such a poor performance before. And this is a call to the government. And this is due to the fact that we have 52 billion and only 3 billion was released.
Why is it so?
So now, the reason is because the government is telling us that there is shortage of funds. But last year, we were able to see that no allocation comes from the federal government to the states. I don't know, maybe because of the election period, that's why.
Maybe because the stakeholders are also coming up with what they want to do in that of.
And because we did a follow-up, we made advocacy. But all the same, the fund is not coming forth. They have made all their presentation. They might not have made it in full, but to a substantial level. So we are expecting, and that's why sometimes when we try to approach the Ministry of Finance, that what's going on, but over the years, they've not been giving us audience, the reception to come there. Let's know what is going on. Let's know why fund is not being released. Because agriculture is seasonal. Aside from the fact that you are releasing fund, it must be timely, it must be adequate, it must be able to touch key pivotal areas that are essential to development, that can promote sustainable agricultural practices in Ondo State. Ondo State is a blessed state, and we can if we are able to use fund, we make funding available for the agriculture sector. Do you know that agriculture single-handedly can revitalize the economy of the state? and we do have to borrow. We generate more money.
Most of that are also zeroing on the women on this program today. We do say that even the little that was released by government is also actually getting to these women who are 70% operators of the sector.
So, and that's why, because in the agricultural development projects, it's a department in the Ministry of Agriculture. So they have a budget line item called Agro Women Initiative. Agro Women Initiative, I can tell you authoritatively, sir, that Ondo State happens to be the first state that will, create a budget line item on Agro Women Initiative in the whole of Southwest Nigeria. But the first is now becoming the last. Every year is declining. This year it was
budgetary provision for that.
Yes, for Agro Women Initiative, where a lot will happen for women.
When the government is also not getting results from the one that they also released before.
Because even though the one that has been budgeted for, most times they don't get releases. They don't get releases. And that is where the challenge is coming from. I give you this instance, sir. We are running a project in Ondo State, and I know other states are running it. We call it RAM. It's about rural access agricultural marketing project. You understand? Its purpose is to connect road from the urban area to the rural road, so that there will be ease of transportation, especially for farm produce that are coming from the rural area to the market, and also building of markets at the rural areas. But do you know that because the RAM has not been performing, and that's why we are having backlog in terms of performance in the capital expenditure, because it's a World Bank project, assisted project, and the state is expected to pay a counterpart funding. And in as much as the state is not even prioritizing that, there's no, because for the past 2 years now, in the capital expenditure, this RAP I'm talking about has been receiving over 50-something% in the capital expenditure for agricultural development sector. So that means that if it's not performing, that means that 50% has gone already. The rest 50% will be battling with Ministry of Agriculture, where the commissioner is.
Are you saying that that ramp is not working in Osrc? Because I know that they have a role that they are doing in Italy. I know that of what I know a place in Nigeria, and they have also been working across the state.
So the ramp has not been performing. It's only little proportion that is being released out of considering over 16 billion. I think this year, if I'm to be precise, this is a live program. I think close to 28 billion naira is a mark for this ramp project. So if that 28 billion naira is used judiciously, I can tell you that there will be performance.
For road construction.
Yes, and market creation in the rural areas. You understand? So that people, because this also will reduce the post-harvest losses we record in Nigeria. Annually, Nigeria as a nation record over 3 trillion in post-harvest losses in a year. By the time we try to aggregate it to each state, with the inclusion of FCT, you will see that each state will be having 94 billion. So, and Ondo State is not budgeting 94 billion. So, tell me, if 94 billion naira is budgeted for agriculture and is being used, I can tell you that the face of agriculture in the state will definitely change, and that will lead to development. You understand that these are issues we are having, and that's why we just keep encouraging, telling the government, keep engaging the government, because
so the issue also how is quite different from the budget. The budget allocation might be there, but accessing the funds on that.
It's another. That's it, and that's why it leads to poor performance at the long run. Because when there are no releases, you understand, and there's no money to execute.
There are other processes for you to get that release. Because the proposal you're also calling a drawing for a particular program is not good enough for government to even actually release money.
And that's why we are saying that what we do strategically, we advocate with policy makers, decision makers. I'm sorry. Even for the past 2 years now, we've been trying to have access to the House Committee on Agriculture.
Why is it difficult?
By the time we take our letter there, they will not even reference our letter. 2, it's either they are on recess. And as I'm talking to you, we were supposed to hold an engagement with House Committee on Agriculture last month, but on getting there, we got to know that they've disturbed the whole house. And now, as I'm talking to you, they are on recess because we've written a letter again. We've written a letter to the Honorable Speaker of the House, so that with his permission we can meet, so we can make our presentation, because we have our findings for the 2025 analysis we did for agriculture in the state. You understand, for the whole year, what the government has budgeted for agricultural development sector, those sides, so that we can present it to them. We can tell them these are the findings we have seen, and this is our recommendation, so that they also can buckle up in playing their oversight functions. Because I'm very sure by the time they are able to play their oversight functions, by the time the next budget will become, which is for 2026, then they can also be able to make inputs when necessary, and also push for timely releases and adequate funding for agriculture.
So if government is also trying to do that, which sector of agriculture would you want it to go to in terms of also getting money to run these programs? Because I know for the fact that we have a lot of programs on agriculture.
Yes, we have a lot of programs, but I'm of the opinion that there should be vital key areas that government is going to address and increase funding. And these are essential service. Do you understand? There's something we call climate resilient sustainable agriculture. That is CRSA stroke agroecology. This also will be able to withstand the climate issue. So, and also post-harvest losses reduction support, creating a market, processing facilities, storage facilities. You will see that
the same government was actually doing buyback. Okay. When you produce, government will also buy from you.
Exactly.
So are you also not suggesting that now?
Now, and that's why we are trying to bring our smallholder women farmers into cooperative. They register with the government. When they register with the government, they can also advocate, because they don't have control over land, access and control over land. Then they can now request, government, we need land so that we want to expand our production level. So by the time government see what they are doing, so we can also liaise with government to promote public-private partnership, PPP. So when this comes in, they are off-takers.
I was about to ask you that this over-reliance on government.
Do you understand? They are off-takers. Do you understand? They are off-takers. But it's just that, for smallholder women farmers to meet with the demand of the off-takers, they must have been producing in large quantity. And they must have been producing in regard.
Do they have the capacity to produce in large quantity?
Yes, they have. They are ready. And that's why we have the Smallholder Women Farmers Organization of Nigeria.
Why do you not have enough land to plant?
Do you understand? That's part of the campaign. Part of our advocacy, that we need increased access and control to land for these women farmers, so that they can enhance production. When we have enough production, I can tell you, when there is competition in the market, food price will drop. It will drop. There will be food security. More money will come in. And even though you will see that the women farmers...
To me they have a number, 70% of them in farming business.
Yes, in food production. Food production. And that is to tell you that if we do not prioritize them, we are in problem. Big deadline.
Why are we not prioritizing them?
So, because the issue is because government is focusing more on commercial farmers.
Why is it government all the time?
Because the government has the resources. They have enough resources to promote this, just to give them an enabling environment, support them as time due, train them. The reason why we have NDAs in the Ministry of Agriculture is they are just here as implementing agency, and to also to let the people benefit. The per capita, when we calculated the capital expenditure for 2025, and we place it on per capita, Because based on the projection we have that Ondo State we increase by I think to 5 million by our projection in 2025. So we now place it with per capita, with the capital expenditure for agriculture, and we're able to see that per capita for agriculture is 9,000 plus for one person in Ondo State. So which means that what will 9,000 naira do? That is where the problem is coming from. There's no how, sir. I can assure you that.
What about our partnership? If you have that multinational companies that can also assist these women in agriculture, what about? Are you also considering doing that? Because I also know that as stakeholders, you also had a meeting very lately where you also actually analyze the budget.
Yes, and so we try to also train one. We train them, and also we link them up with right stakeholders. Aside from the fact that we are talking about, the state government, even though we link them up with federal government, because we have federal institutions that work around the agricultural development sector in the state. And that's why over time we try to link them. For instance, now we link them with SMIDA. SMIDA promotes small scale businesses, especially, and they give priority to women.
I think we still need to come back on this program to talk about how you are also linking the networking stuff for women in agriculture. If you have about 70% of the family, they must do something, and they must also see how we can tackle this issue of food insecurity. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the show today. The last 25 minutes I've been speaking with Mr. Olayemi Oluwatobi, Project Officer, Justice Development and Peace Center, together taking a look at the agriculture, project allocation, and also the participation of women in agriculture. I want to thank you once again.
It's a pleasure.
For your time. That's how it's going to be on the show today. Join us on Wednesday.